Point Park Baseball has had a steady season in preparation for their home opener. Pittsburgh fans, spring sports are on the way back to the Steel City. March college basketball, NFL free agency moves, and the NHL is quiet. It's time to come on down to the Pioneer Sideline. Hello, and welcome back to Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Natalia Hillen. Point Park University's baseball team had a 3-game road stretch against Rio Grande this past Friday and Saturday. The Pioneers played a total of 3 games in the Rivers Conference Series against the Red Storm. Point Park lost the first game on Friday, 9-5. However, Point Park had 2 big wins in the last 2 games of the road stretch. Starting with the first game on Saturday, the Pioneers won 8-0. Leading the way were key players Omar Murillo and Jordan Campbell, where both were 3 for 4. Eddie Javier Jr. got a run with a single, and right behind him in the top of the first was Campbell, where the single brought in 2 runs and was the third base hit of the inning. Closing out the inning was Macaulay Brito with a sacrifice fly, ending the inning with a score of 4-0. Fast forwarding to the 7th inning, Cardoso faced 3 batters over the minimum from the second. He allowed 4 hits, struck out 2, and walked 4. In the 9th inning, Campbell had a 2-run homer, which added 3 runs, making the final score 8-0. Moving on to the second game, in the first inning, Point Park got 2 runs, and in the second, Murillo, Jared, and Campbell had singles, which resulted in a run. Continuing into the third, Isaac Santana and Murillo had singles, Martinez got a run and infield single, and Jared Campbell had a 2-run double. The Pioneers took a 6-0 lead. Rivera had a run support, and Point Park was ahead 6-0 through its first 3 times batting. A key player was Jared Campbell because he was 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and 3 RBIs. In the 5th inning, the double RBI got the lead 7-1. In all 3 games, Murillo was 4 for 4 as the sophomore second baseman, and Santana had a 3 for 3 performance that was a part of the Point Park's 13 hits. Rivera completed a game of 7 innings without having to give up, and pitcher Javier Cardoso threw a 4-hit shutout in the opener. Cardoso also won RSC Baseball Pitcher of the Week from his pitches this past weekend. Congrats, Javier. The Pioneers' next 3 games are a part of the RSC series at WVU Tech on March 17th and 18th. Good luck, boys. After the break, we'll hear from India Durham and Gabe Arbasol about the rest of the sports world. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now we hear from India Durham about how all things are going on locally. India?
Thanks, Nat. This in local news, the city of Pittsburgh is only a few weeks away from the home opening game day for the Pittsburgh Pirates, taking place April 7th at 4:12 p.m. So if you haven't gotten your tickets and plan on doing so, don't waste any more time because they are going fast. Speaking of the Pirates, spring training has been in effect for a few weeks now, and the team continues to work hard and to bring home wins this season. Updates concerning the players start with outfielder Andrew McCutchen, who took an exit to a Sunday game played against the Minnesota Twins. This is the result of being hit by a pitch by Minnesota Twins right-hander Jeff Hoffman, which led to discomfort within McCutchen's left hand. Speedy recovery, we're all wishing for McCutchen. Shortstop number 15, O'Neal Cruz, renewed his contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates, making him a part of the 15 players who have a renewed contract within the MLB teams. Cruz will be playing in his third season with the Pittsburgh Pirates for this 2023 year. In soccer news, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC will have their next match on Saturday against the Memphis 901 FC. Their official season started not too long ago, and through their preseason, they brought home a win with the score being 3-0 against Penn State. Their next home game will be on March 24th against Miami FC, starting at 7 p.m. That's all I have. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks, India. Now let's send things to Gabe Ebersol to update us on how the rest of the sports world is doing. Gabe?
Thanks, Nat. March basketball is soon to start, with Selection Sunday just ending. This tournament is sure to be extremely entertaining. The committee selected Alabama as the #1 overall seed in the tournament, with Houston, Purdue, and Kansas as the other 1 seeds. The best part of this time of year are the upsets, so anything is bound to happen. Staying on topic with basketball, Kevin Durant was recently traded to the Phoenix Suns, but he was injured in a pregame warm-up. Durant played well in the first 3 games for them, so hopefully he has a good recovery so we can watch this new roster. The Sacramento Kings have reached 40 wins for the first time since 2006 and stay as the 2 seed in the Western Conference. With the Nuggets just above them, Denver Nuggets center Nikola Jokic remains as a favorite to win MVP. This will be his 3rd in a row, making him one of only 3 players to do it, which would include the legendary Larry Bird, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain in that club. Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo has missed several games, but the Bucks still remain at the top of the East with the Celtics just behind them. Now some NFL free agency news. 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo has signed to the Las Vegas Raiders to be the new man under center. Steelers' Cam Sutton has left his longtime home in Pittsburgh to become a Detroit Lion. The biggest move so far has been the Rams trading superstar cornerback Jalen Ramsey to the Dolphins for a 3rd-round pick and a 3rd-string tight end. This is a steal for Miami. Eagles defensive lineman Javon Hargrave has signed with the Niners. Hargrave had over 10 sacks and joins an already strong Niners defense. More deals to come in the NFL, so keep an eye out. Now on to the NHL. The NHL standings have not moved much since last week, but the Bruins continue to dominate the NHL and have clinched a playoff berth. Their goalkeeper, Linus Ullmark, leads the league in saves and saves percentage. Oilers superstar Connor McDavid is still playing at an incredible level, leading the NHL in total points and goals. The team on top of the Western Conference is the Vegas Golden Knights. The regular season has little left, so be ready for the NHL playoffs. That is all I have for this week's National Report. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks, Gabe. After the break, we come back with the case of the week. Stay tuned.
Hey.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. My name is Craig Furkowski.
Tonight, we'll cover all your international, national, and local news.
Australia is one of the most biodiverse countries on the planet.
Over 8,000 items are to be auctioned off at Pittsburgh International Airport on October 22nd.
Last Thursday, the House committee investigating the January 6th attack chose to subpoena former President Donald Trump.
All this and more
Coming up on
Newsnight.
Newsnight.
Welcome back. In this week's Case of the Week, we're going to discuss our favorites for the upcoming dance. There are still some playing games to go to, but today we'll discuss our favorites for the upcoming rounds. Today I'm joined by Matt and Gabe to hear what they have to say. All right, starting with Matt. So Alabama is the #1 overall seed in the tournament. Duke is #5 seed after winning the ACC tourney, and Purdue has a tough second round, and they play the winner of Florida. Can you tell me kind of what your favorite teams are right now?
So with Purdue having a tough second round, it's because they're projected to play Memphis. Memphis just won their conference tournament, so Memphis is coming out pretty hot. But I still think Purdue, having the best center in the country right now, statistically, he's averaging 23 points a game. He's 7'4". He's very hard to stop. That's giving Purdue a big boost. Purdue is one of my favorites to win the tournament simply because they have guys around a big center, and he can always bail them out with offensive rebounds and score in the paint whenever they need him to. That's why I have Purdue as one of my favorites. Another favorite that I have is actually UCLA. This is a favorite for a lot of people as well, but for me, it just comes down to the star power that they kind of have. They just have those guys that are able to break out and have huge games, and I think that could go a long way in the tournament.
Gabe, what about you?
My favorite team, I believe, is Houston, and the reason why is because they have the best points per game differential in the entire country. They have one of the best turnover differentials. They hold their opponents at 36% from the field, 22% from three, and defense travels in these playoffs. You see teams that fall apart shooting later in the rounds, and whether Houston shoots or not, they're going to defend, and I think that gives them a huge edge in the tournament. The only concern I would have with them is that they are 1-1 in top 25 play. They beat Virginia and they lost Alabama, so that's like the concern. They haven't really played anybody super good yet, but I still think they're a top contender in the tournament. If I had to pick someone that wasn't a 1 seed, I would pick Gonzaga, top scoring team in the country, 87.5 per game. They shoot an astounding 53% from the field as a team. One player on their team shoots below 44%, so that you can count on a lot of people to show up for them. Plus, they have veteran leadership. They have one of the oldest players in the country on their team, leading their team. So they have experience, which counts a lot in March, as we see. So those would be my two favorite teams so far.
They're one of those teams that just like you always expect to have a good run for sure.
Yeah, especially the last like 6-7 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Gonzaga is one of those teams that you always have to watch out for, no matter what their seed is. I mean, at their where they're at right now, I don't think they're gonna win. There's just teams I have above them. Another team I want to highlight is Arizona, being a 2 seed. They've just been on fire all year, and I just think that they have what it takes to win a tournament overall, and that's just what's gonna bring them a step above a team like Gonzaga, for me at least.
I can see where you're coming from, but I think like a team like Gonzaga, usually I don't ride with teams that are like ride or die by their offense, because we've seen Gonzaga get they allow a decent amount of points. They do have the second best points per game differential, but they score so much. And usually I don't go for teams that score a lot of points to win, because like I said, you have teams fall off in shooting, but just their team is so well rounded. It's not very likely to me that they're going to have 4 or 5 guys all have a bad night on the same night. So they're going to get scoring. It's just you don't know where it's going to come from. Maybe someone has an off night, but they have enough to pick up the slack. So I think that they're going to make a deep run.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the 1-seeded teams right now. So Kansas, Houston, Purdue, and Alabama. Kansas, they won last year. We already know that. Houston, they have really good defense. And then Purdue, they have that center, Zach Edey. And then Alabama, they're just really good. They're a very consistent team. Did any of these teams surprise you guys at all?
I would say Alabama more than anything, because they haven't been they're not known as a basketball school. Obviously, they're a football school, but they're the best rebounding team in the nation. They play good defense. They have a very well-rounded team this year. So, I mean, I think Houston, I don't know that they did enough to jump Houston as the #1 team overall to me, but I do think they 100% deserve to be a 1 seed, and they could make a deep run. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the whole thing.
I think out of these 4 teams, the team that I think will probably get eliminated first is actually Kansas. Even though they're reigning champs, they just haven't impressed me as much as Bama, Purdue, or Houston. Houston's defense has just impressed me every single night. Purdue's just been consistent all year. They have the shooting ability, they have the center, and Alabama just is so well-rounded. I just don't see Kansas, even though last year I really didn't see the same thing. They came back down from 25 in the championship game. But overall, I just think Kansas is the least effective team out of those 4.
I can agree with that.
Are there any teams that are kind of a disappointment right now for you guys?
I would say the team that has the most potential to be disappointing to me is Tennessee. And the reason I would say that is because they were the #2 team in the nation earlier this year. They were 18-2, and since then they have been 5-8. And I think that they're a 4 seed in this tournament, and I can see them getting they would get destroyed by Duke, dismantled completely in the second round of the tournament. I would not be surprised to see them go in the round of 32.
I have Indiana. I'm pretty sure they're a 4 or 3 seed right now, and they just don't have they're very inconsistent. They have those nights where they go crazy, then they have those nights where they just look like they're not even a tournament-worthy team. And when you watch a team like that play throughout the whole season, you just like don't expect them to make a big run. So for me, with how high their sitting is, like yes, you think that they could win. They obviously have shown it, but they just don't have the record. They haven't beat the big-name schools. They haven't done the big enough steps that they need to take to win a tournament. So that's who I have being a disappointment this year for sure.
A team I have that's even a higher seed that could be a disappointment, I would pick Kansas State because they started off 13-1. They're 10-8, and March is about getting hot at the right time because anyone can win on any given day. And being 10-8 in your last 18 games doesn't speak that to me. They're 7-5 against AP top 25 teams, and they aren't super great at any one thing. They have beat some. They've played some impressive games this season. They've won, but they're a very inconsistent team as they've shown. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got bounced early in the tournament.
I honestly am gonna have to disagree. I like Kansas State a lot for this tournament. I think the one thing that you mentioned, how hot they start off at the beginning of the year, all they have to do is get back to that. And even though it's like when you fill out these brackets, you're like, you can never just expect this team to win. It just happens.
I agree.
Everything's unexpected. So the thing is if they win a game, if they win the first round matchup by a lot of points, if they play fantastic, that's going to carry on because we've seen it be able to carry on for them. And that's why I think Kansas State's a potential Final Four Elite Eight team.
I mean, that's why it's so hard to predict the entire bracket is because anyone can get hot at any time. But I think based off recent play, it's the same thing for Tennessee. It's like they started the year hot, yeah, but there's a reason that they've cooled down. It's like teams are figuring them out a little bit more. They're cooled down. Maybe they start off the year shooting hot. As a lot of teams we've seen that kind of fall down towards the end of the year, and I think that's kind of what their case is going to be. I think they're going to get dismantled fairly early in the tournament.
I can definitely see it.
What are some teams that are going to have like Cinderella runs?
I have Utah State actually. They can score the ball. They've scored over 90 points, almost a double-digit amount of times this year. They can score the ball, and if there's a team that can't keep up with them, let's compare them to like a team like Houston. Let's say they're playing against Houston. I don't even think a team like Houston is going to consistently be able to stop a team like Utah State just because they shoot so much and they're just able to hit those shots. Now all they have to do is have one game where they don't hit as many shots as they normally do, and they're going to lose. But like that's why they're as low to see. That's why they're as low to see as they are. They aren't the best team, but that's why it's a Cinderella story, you know. And if they score the ball like that for the tournament, they can make a run.
My Cinderella team is Charleston because they're 31-3 coming in. Reminds me a lot of TCU in the college football playoffs because the problem is competition that they played. They lost earlier in the year. Their first loss was in North Carolina, I think their third game. They went on a 20-game winning streak then, and their most recent loss was February 2nd. They lost by 1 point to Drexel, I believe. And since then, they haven't lost. I mean, they've pulled out games that were close. They've had blowouts. Like they can get it done in almost any situation. And they're playing San Diego State, a team that hasn't beat a top 25 team all year in the first round. So I do believe they have a good chance to win. A 5 seed usually gets upset in the bracket. I think that's the biggest upset and most common upset in college basketball tournaments. So I think that's what my money's really on. If I had to pick one team to pull off an upset in the first round and ride that momentum, I would take Charleston.
I feel like Oral Roberts and Duke. I feel like Oral Roberts could have this Cinderella run, guys. For real. Matt, what do you think about Oral Roberts?
See, they've done it before against my Ohio State, actually. They did it a couple years ago, 2019, 2020, one of the 2 years. And the thing is Oral Roberts right now is actually playing good, but there's a team, they're playing against a team that's playing even better, and that's Duke. Duke's hot right now. And I know as much as a lot of people in this country want Duke to lose, I just do not see the matchup going in their favor. I just think Duke's too hot right now. Oral Roberts, 12s do beat 5s consistently. They could do it. But
you never know. You really never know with Oral Roberts.
Yeah, that's
for real.
You never know with any school. I mean, it's in this tournament, you never know. But
anything can happen. As we've shown in the past.
Even though Duke lost Coach K, right? Even though they lost him, they still show that they have that fight. They're still Duke University, and they do it every year. A lot of times they disappoint, but they're still that school that can always make a big run. And I think with how hot they are right now, I don't think Oral Roberts is going to be able to beat them.
I also think that they're just a better team. They're going to pull out, especially that game. But deeper into the picture, they rely on a lot of freshmen, which is like why you see teams like them in Kentucky lose earlier than expected a lot of the time. Plus, they don't have last year they had Paulo Banchero, Mark Williams. They had better players last year, and they still couldn't make the whole way. So I don't expect them to make it to the Final Four, maybe not even the Elite Eight. But I don't see Oral Roberts beating them just because of the caliber of a team that they are.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we'll have to see what happens in the next month.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all that we have time for this week. We hope you are able to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and the same Pioneer Sideline.